Ambassador Marcus Vale stood before the viewing port of Harmony Nexus Station, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. At 71 years old, his hair had gone completely silver, but his green eyes remained sharp, missing nothing. Today marked the 900th anniversary of the Treaty of Silent Stars, the agreement that had ended the bloodiest conflict the galaxy had ever witnessed. "Ambassador, the Thoroxian delegation has arrived," his aide, Lieutenant James Morrison, announced from behind him. Marcus turned slowly, his formal diplomatic robes shifting with the movement. "How many ships?" 37, sir. All ceremonial class, no weapon signatures." Marcus nodded. The Thoroxians were many things: warriors, poets, philosophers, but they were not liars. If they said their ships were unarmed, they were unarmed. It was a matter of honor for them, and honor was everything to a Thoroxian. "Inform President Tanaka that we're ready to begin," Marcus said. As Morrison left, Marcus returned his gaze to the stars. Somewhere out there, hidden in the vast darkness, were the ghosts of the Convergence War. 15 billion dead, entire star systems rendered uninhabitable, weapons so terrible that both sides had agreed to bury the very knowledge of their existence. His grandfather had fought in that war, Commander David Vale, decorated hero, haunted man. Marcus remembered sitting on his grandfather's knee as a child, listening to stories that gave him nightmares for years. "We didn't fight like them, Marcus," his grandfather had whispered one night, his voice raw with old pain. "They had rules, codes of honor. We had survival. We fought dirty. We fought mean. We did things." He had stopped then, unable to continue. The Thoroxians were shocked by humanity's approach to warfare. They expected formations, declarations, honorable combat. Instead, humanity gave them ambushes, sabotage, psychological warfare, and weapons designed not for glory, but for maximum carnage. The war had ended not with a victor, but with exhaustion. Both sides had stood on the brink of extinction and stepped back. The Treaty of Silent Stars had been signed here, on this very station, 900 years ago. And for 9 centuries, peace had held. The Grand Hall of Harmony Nexus could hold 10,000 beings. Today, it was filled to capacity. Delegates from 100 species had come to witness the renewal ceremony. Humanity occupied the western galleries, their formal attire a sea of blacks and deep blues. The Thoroxians filled the eastern side, their crimson and gold armor gleaming under the lights. Marcus walked to the central platform where High Executor Provoke waited. The Thoroxian leader stood 8 feet tall, his forearms crossed in a gesture of respect. His species resembled Terran mantises, but with an intelligence that burned in their multifaceted eyes. "Ambassador Vale," Provoke's voice resonated through the hall's translators. 9 centuries of peace. Our ancestors would be proud." "They would indeed, High Executor," Marcus replied, bowing slightly. "May we honor their sacrifice with 9 centuries more." The ceremony began with traditional music from both cultures. Thoroxian war drums thundered alongside human string quartets, creating a harmony that had taken decades to perfect. Speakers from both sides gave addresses about cooperation, mutual respect, and the value of peace. Marcus was scheduled to speak last. As he approached the podium, he felt the weight of history on his shoulders. This was more than ceremony. This was a promise, renewed. 900 years ago, he began, his voice carrying across the silent hall, our people stood in the ashes of our own making. We had shown each other the worst of what we could be. The question then was simple. Could we show each other the best? He paused, looking across the sea of faces, human, Thoroxian, and others. The answer has been yes, not perfectly, not without struggle, but yes. We have built trade routes instead of battle lines. We have raised children who know only peace. We have proven that even the deepest wounds can heal if we choose to let them. The hall erupted in applause. Marcus smiled, feeling something loosen in his chest. Perhaps, finally, the ghosts could rest. Then the doors exploded. The blast was surgical. precise, not meant to destroy the hull, but to breach it. Through the smoke, figures emerged wearing crimson armor marked with a black hand symbol. The Crimson Hand. Marcus had read the intelligence reports, a radical Thraxian faction that believed the Treaty of Silent Stars was a betrayal, that humanity should have been conquered, not negotiated with. But intelligence had assured him they were scattered, powerless, no real threat. Intelligence had been wrong.
This peace is a lie. The voice that rang out belonged to a Thraxian warrior carrying a plasma rifle. We honor our ancestors by finishing what they started. Chaos erupted. People screamed, running for exits. Security forces converged, but they were ceremonial guards, lightly armed. The Crimson Hand had come prepared for war. Marcus saw it all in slow motion. He saw High Executor Provoke frozen in shock. He saw Thraxian civilians, children, caught in the crossfire as the terrorists opened fire. He saw Lieutenant Morrison go down, blood spreading across his uniform. And he saw the device. It sat in the center of the hall, brought in with the attackers. A bomb, clearly, but the energy signature was wrong, too powerful. This wasn't meant to destroy the station. This was meant to destroy everything within 10,000 kilometers. Marcus's mind raced. Security protocols would seal the station's blast doors in 45 seconds. Anyone still inside would die, but the delegate ships would survive. Except the blast radius was too large. The ships were too close. Unless someone manually piloted the station away from them. Directive Midnight, Marcus whispered, activating his emergency comm. Authorization, Vale Alpha 97 Echo. On Earth, in Geneva, in the deepest bunker beneath the Human Coalition headquarters, lights that had been dark for 900 years began to glow red. Marcus ran, not away from the bomb, but toward the station's command center. His old legs protested, but adrenaline drove him forward. Behind him, he heard weapons fire, screams, the sounds of people dying. He reached the command center and sealed the door. The manual override for the station's position thrusters was designed for emergencies, for asteroid collision avoidance. It had never been meant for this. Marcus's fingers flew across the controls. The station shuddered as thrusters fired, pushing it away from the docked ships. 1 kilometer, 2, 5. Ambassador, Provoke's voice came through the comm. What are you doing?
Saving your children, High Executor, Marcus said calmly. Tell my president. Tell her I'm sorry I won't be there to see what comes next. Ambassador, the blast will... I know. Marcus looked at the chronometer. 20 seconds. High Executor, I need you to understand something. What happened here today was not your fault, but what happens tomorrow will be your responsibility. I don't understand. Marcus smiled sadly. You will. Humanity is very good at two things, Provoke, making peace and making war. For 900 years, you've seen only one side. I pray you remember that we chose to show you that side. 10 seconds. Tell them... Marcus's voice caught. He thought of his wife, dead 3 years now, his children, grown with families of their own, his granddaughter who wanted to follow in his footsteps. Tell them the peace was worth it. 5 seconds. Through the viewport, Marcus could see the delegates' ships pulling away, carrying thousands to safety. He saw Harmony Nexus Station, this monument to peace, drifting alone in the void. 3 seconds. Directive Midnight is active, he said quietly. May God forgive us for what comes next. The bomb detonated. The light was brief, brilliant, and final. Harmony Nexus Station and Ambassador Marcus Vale ceased to exist in an instant of nuclear fire. Across the galaxy, on every human world, in every human ship, in every human military installation, ancient systems activated. Sealed bunkers opened, hidden factories powered up. Weapons that had been maintained in secret for 900 years came online. President Keiko Tanaka stood in the war room beneath Geneva, tears streaming down her face as she watched the recording of Marcus's final moments. Directive Midnight confirmed, her military advisor said quietly. All protocols are active. Keiko closed her eyes. Marcus had been her mentor, her friend. He had taught her that peace was always worth fighting for. Now he was gone, and the peace had died with him. Tell them, Marcus's voice caught. He thought of his wife, dead 3 years now, his children, grown with families of their own, his granddaughter who wanted to follow in his footsteps. Tell them the peace was worth it. Keiko opened her eyes. They were no longer the eyes of a diplomat. Then they will learn why humanity chose peace in the first place, because the alternative was too terrible to contemplate. She looked at the tactical display showing human space. Red markers were appearing across it, hundreds of them, thousands. Military assets that officially didn't exist coming out of hiding. For 900 years we've been the galaxy's best friend, Keiko said softly. Now they'll remember we can also be its worst nightmare. The war had begun. The Human Coalition Council Chamber had never been designed for war. Its architecture spoke of openness, transparency, cooperation. Curved walls of glass looked out onto Geneva's peaceful gardens. Seats were arranged in circles, not hierarchies. But now, as President Keiko Tanaka stood before the assembled representatives of humanity's 73 colony worlds, the room felt different, harder, colder. Ambassador Marcus Vale is dead, she began, her voice echoing in the silence. Murdered along with 247 others aboard Harmony Nexus Station. The Crimson Hand has claimed responsibility. The Thoroxian Confederacy has offered condolences but refuses to hand over the terrorists. She paused, letting that sink in. They believe we will accept apologies and investigations. They believe we will negotiate. They believe we are still the same humanity that signed the Treaty of Silent Stars 900 years ago. Keiko touched a control. The glass walls darkened, replaced by holographic displays. Images appeared, massive facilities hidden in asteroid fields, shipyards concealed behind false mining operations, research stations that officially didn't exist. They are wrong. The council members stared at the images in shock. Even they, leaders of humanity's colonies, had not known the full extent of Project Sentinel. For 900 years, Keiko continued, we have prepared for this day. We hoped it would never come. Ambassador Vale spent his entire life making sure it wouldn't. But hope is not a strategy. Hope is not defense. So while we built peace with one hand, we built something else with the other. She gestured, and the displays changed. Sleek warships unlike anything in the current human fleet. Soldiers in armor that seemed to blur at the edges, incorporating active camouflage and enhanced mobility systems. Project Sentinel began the day after the treaty was signed. Every generation has contributed. Every advance in science, every breakthrough in technology has been funneled into 2 streams, civilian and military. The galaxy has seen our civilian progress. They are about to see the other side. Representative Zhang from New Beijing spoke up, his voice shaking. Madam President, what exactly are we looking at? Keiko's expression was grim. The next generation of human warfare. Bio-augmented soldiers with enhanced reflexes, strength, and cognitive processing. Nanite weapons that can disable enemy ships at the molecular level. Quantum displacement drives that make our fleet 3 times faster than anything the Thoroxians possess. And she hesitated, then continued. A division of soldiers trained in psionic warfare. Telepaths, telekinetics, empaths, abilities we've cultivated through genetic screening and enhancement for centuries. The chamber erupted. Voices overlapped, some angry, some fearful, some demanding answers. Keiko waited for silence. "I know what you're thinking," she said, "that we've become what we feared, that we've built weapons too terrible to use. Perhaps you're right, but Marcus Vale died believing that the peace was worth protecting. I intend to honor that belief by ensuring no one ever threatens it again." She pulled up another display. The Thraxian Confederacy's military consists of approximately 40,000 warships. They believe they still outnumber us. They don't know that we've been building our fleet in secret. They don't know that we have 75,000 ships ready to deploy. Representative Okonkwo from New Lagos leaned forward. "What are your orders, Madam President?" "The Crimson Hand leadership will be delivered to us for trial. If the Confederacy refuses, we will take them, and we will dismantle any military capability that threatens human worlds. This is not a war of conquest. This is a war of justice." 12,000 light-years away, on the Thraxian homeworld of Thrak, High Executor Kravik faced his own council. "They are bluffing," War Master Threnix insisted, his mandibles clicking in agitation. "Humanity has maintained minimal military presence for centuries. They cannot possibly mount a serious threat." "You did not see Ambassador Vale's face. You did not hear his final words. He knew something. He tried to warn me." "Warn you of what? That humanity would throw a tantrum over a terrorist attack?" Before Kravik could respond, alarms shrieked through the council chamber. A military aide rushed in, his carapace pale with fear. "High Executor, the Crimson Hand's primary base on Viridian 7, it's gone." "Gone?" Threnix demanded. "What do you mean, gone?"
Destroyed. Completely. We're still analyzing the data, but it appears a human strike team infiltrated the facility, eliminated everyone inside, and vaporized the entire complex. No survivors. No evidence. Just gone. The council fell silent. "How many were there?" Kravik asked. "We don't know, sir. We didn't even know they were there until it was over." Kravik felt something cold settle in his stomach. This was surgical, precise, terrifying. "Get me the historical archives," he ordered. "Everything from the Convergence War. I want to know exactly how humanity fought back then." 3 days later, Kravik wished he hadn't asked. The files had been sealed, classified as traumatic historical data, deemed too disturbing for public access. Now Kravik understood why. Humanity hadn't just fought dirty in the Convergence War, they had redefined what warfare meant. Psychological operations that drove enemy soldiers insane, biological weapons targeting specific genetic markers, nanite clouds that consumed enemy fleets atom by atom, ships piloted by dead men, their brains preserved in jars, driven by vengeance beyond death. The Thraxians had fought with honor. Humanity had fought to win. And that was 900 years ago with primitive technology. "We need to negotiate," Kravik told his council, "immediately." But it was already too late. The Battle of Void's Gate would be remembered as the moment the galaxy realized what humanity had become. The Thraxian Third Fleet, 12,000 strong, moved to intercept a human force at the Void's Gate system. Intelligence suggested 300 human ships, an easy victory. Instead, they found 7,000. Commander Zara Chen stood on the bridge of the HCSN Remembrance, Marcus Vale's former aide, and now humanity's youngest fleet commander at 42. She had been with him on Harmony Nexus. She had watched him die. "All ships, this is Chen. You have your targets. Rules of engagement are clear. Military targets only. Any ship that surrenders is to be boarded and secured, crew treated as prisoners of war. But any ship that fires on us—" She paused, thinking of Marcus. "Show them what mercy looks like when it's been earned. Show them what justice looks like when it hasn't." The battle lasted 47 minutes. Human ships moved with impossible precision. their quantum drives allowing for micro-jumps that made them appear to teleport. The Roxian formations, perfect for honorable ship-to-ship combat, shattered under the assault. Nanite missiles phased through shields and hull armor, consuming ships from the inside. Psionic operators overwhelmed enemy crews with waves of terror and confusion. Bio-augmented marines boarded vessels, moving faster than Thoraxian reflexes could track. When it was over, the Third Fleet had lost 9,000 ships. The human fleet had lost 23. Zara watched the survivors flee and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no joy, just emptiness. "Dispatch medical ships to assist with survivors," she ordered, "and send a message to High Executor Kravik. We have the Crimson Hand second in command in custody. We will continue to work our way up the chain until we reach the top. He can hand them over or we will take them." In his private chamber, Kravik watched the battle recordings with growing horror. His military analysts had calculated the human fleet's capabilities based on observed technology. They had been wrong by a factor of 10. No, he realized. Not wrong, deceived. For 900 years, humanity had shown the galaxy carefully edited versions of their technology. They had maintained the illusion of equality, while quietly, patiently, building something far beyond anything that the Raxians possessed. "They played us," he whispered. "For 9 centuries, they played us." His aide approached carefully. "High Executor, there's something else. We've been analyzing human casualties from the battle." "And?" "They're evacuating wounded civilians from the nearby station. The Roxian civilians. They're providing medical aid, food, and shelter." Kravik's mandibles trembled. "They're showing mercy to our people while destroying our fleets?" "Yes, sir. Commander Chen has made it clear they're at war with the Crimson Hand and any military that protects them, not with the Thoraxian people." Kravik pulled up the oldest files from the Convergence War, looking for a specific passage. He found it in a report from his own ancestor, War Master Kravik the Elder. "Humanity fights with a strange duality. They are capable of terrible cruelty to their enemies and profound compassion to the innocent. They will burn your worlds to ash, then risk their lives to save a single child from the flames. This makes them unpredictable, dangerous. We must never fight them again." 900 years ago, his ancestor had understood. The peace treaty hadn't been signed because both sides were exhausted. It had been signed because the Thoraxians were terrified of what humanity would do if pushed too far. "Get me President Tanaka," Kravik said quietly. "We need to talk." But even as he gave the order, reports came in of more strikes. Human Special Forces teams were hitting Crimson Hand cells across the Raxian space. They appeared from nowhere, struck with surgical precision, and vanished. The Confederacy's own security forces couldn't stop them, couldn't even detect them. 3 months into the conflict, Zara Chen stood before a holographic map of the Raxian space. Red markers showed Crimson Hand locations that had been eliminated. Blue markers showed those that remained. There weren't many blue markers left. "Ma'am," her tactical officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from Thorak. High Executor Kravik requests a meeting, neutral ground. He wants to discuss terms." Zara thought of Marcus, vaporized in nuclear fire while saving people who would later refuse to hand over his murderers. "Tell him we'll meet," she said quietly, "but make it clear. The only terms we're interested in are unconditional surrender of the Crimson Hand leadership and complete military disarmament. Anything less, and we continue." "And if he agrees?" Zara's expression softened slightly. "Then maybe the peace Marcus died for can still mean something." She turned back to the tactical display, watching the blue markers blink. Each one represented terrorists who thought killing a peacemaker would be without consequence. They had been wrong. Humanity had spent 900 years hoping for peace while preparing for war.
Now the galaxy was learning the difference between hoping humanity wouldn't fight and ensuring they wouldn't need to. It was a lesson written in fire and blood, and it was far from over.